want to show you more of my conversation with a Ukrainian commander inside the steel plant. I began by asking him to tell all of us what is happening there today.
Добрый день, вечер. Сегодня на протяжении всего дня
Today, during the day, the enemy has been trying to storm Azovstal. Several units have already entered the territory of the plant, so there has been fierce fighting on the territory of the plant today.
на территории Азовстала.
Putin obviously has said that his order to Russian troops to avoid going into the plant is still in place. It's clear from what you're saying that that is not true. Are there troops inside the plant near where you are now? What do you know about their location?
Мы видим, что слова.
Well, we can see that obviously his words are not true. This is another lie. The storm of the plant is going on. Several units have already managed to come through to the territory of the plant, supported by tanks, aviation, and also ships from the sea. So our guys are carrying out the fighting already on the territory of the plant.
В некоторых местах это происходит уже на территории завода.
How much longer can you continue fighting, Commander?
Я не могу сказать.
I can't tell you the exact number of hours, days, or months, how long we will be able to carry on the resistance, but I can definitely tell you that we will be resisting until the very end.
Commander, when you say resisting till the very end, it is hard for anyone watching to truly understand the courage and bravery of you and your peers who are in there fighting. Do you think that you will be able to come out of that plant to return to your life and your family?
Правильно вы сказали, что
You are very right when you say that we are thinking about ourselves in the very last turn, because we would very much want our remaining civilians to be evacuated from the plant, as well as our wounded soldiers and the bodies of our dead. So with regard to ourselves, of course, we would like to return to our normal life, but this is not our first priority.
не на первом месте.
Commander, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the other breaking news at this hour, CNN learning that U.S. intelligence helped Ukrainians target and sink Putin's prized warship, the Moskva. Natasha Bertrand joins me now from Washington. Natasha, what more can you tell us about the U.S.'s role? This was a crucial moment in the war, was when Ukraine successfully sank that prized jewel in the Russian fleet.
Yeah, Aaron, a huge blow to the Russian military that was, and it was seen as a major Ukrainian victory. And what we're learning now is that the U.S. actually provided targeting intelligence to the Ukrainians with regard to the location of that warship. What had happened is the Ukrainian forces actually saw that warship in the Black Sea, and they were wondering whether that was the Moskva. So they called their American counterparts to get that confirmation, so that they wouldn't necessarily waste their cruise missiles on something that wasn't a major target, right? Now, the United States did provide them, we are told, with the exact location of that ship and did confirm that it was, in fact, the Moskva. But it's been emphasized to us that the United States did not know that the Ukrainians were actually going to target the ship itself with their own missiles. The U.S. has been providing Ukraine with maritime intelligence to give them a general sense of awareness about the kind of activity that is going on in the Black Sea, because of course those ships, those Russian ships, have been firing missiles onto Ukrainian territory. So it was, again, emphasized to us that there was no U.S. role in the decision that was made to target the ship. However, it remains to be seen, of course, whether Russia is going to appreciate that distinction, right? Because, of course, they have threatened that any U.S. and NATO role in this war, as it grows, could be susceptible to a Russian attack.
All right, Natasha, thank you very much. It's obviously sobering, and this comes on the heels of learning that U.S. intelligence, the New York Times reporting, was used in the targeting of Russian generals. I want to bring in James Clapper because he is the former director of national intelligence under President Obama and also retired lieutenant general in the U.S. Air Force. So, General, when you hear this, that the U.S. intelligence was used, obviously the sources telling Natasha, oh, but we didn't know it was going to be, when we confirmed its location and what it was, that they were going to use that to actually strike it. Okay, do you buy that? I mean, it is a pretty significant piece of reporting to find that this ship was brought down in part because of U.S. information.
Well, Aaron, when you share intelligence with a partner, particularly one that is involved in combat for its national survival, and you're sharing intelligence with them, you have to assume that they're going to use it to the maximum benefit for them. And that carries with it, by the way, the responsibility for U.S. intelligence to ensure that what is provided to Ukrainians is accurate. I've heard complaints from some people about we're not providing intelligence rapidly enough. Well, it's the responsibility is on us to ensure that the intelligence that we are providing is accurate as well as timely. But once you share that intelligence with a partner, particularly one who's going to use it to kill people and destroy things, that's part of the deal.
So, look, the administration understands that this is a really loaded thing because they are pushing back. The White House is pushing back on the New York Times report that says the intel the United States is sharing with Ukraine is helping them kill Russian generals. And we know it's been an unprecedented number of Russian generals who've been killed. The White House says that New York Times report is misleading and irresponsible. They say, quote, we do not provide intelligence with the intent to kill Russian generals. Again, 12 Russian generals, Ukraine says they've killed. But again, what do you make of that denial? We don't provide intelligence with the intent to kill Russian generals. That's not saying they're not providing intelligence about the Russian generals.
As I said, the intent may not have been specifically to provide share intelligence with the Ukrainians so they can kill Russian generals. But if you share intelligence that gives the Ukrainians situational awareness, if you help either identify or reinforce, for example, where a headquarters is, a Russian headquarters, well, that's where generals generally gravitate, is to headquarters. So once again, once you make the determination, the policy determination, you're going to share intelligence with a partner, particularly one who's involved in combat, then they're going to use it to the best of their ability and to the maximum extent possible.
So, General, this information is now public in terms of how the intelligence is being shared. Do you think it will have an impact on the war?
Well, as somebody who spent a lifetime in intelligence, it always gives me hives when these things are publicly revealed. So the effect could be, although it hasn't been so far, that the Russians could tighten up their operational security, which has been absolutely dismal. And accordingly, the intelligence perhaps might dry up. There's always the concern about protection of sources and methods. So to that extent, I suppose it could affect the war. But it's not only javelins and stingers that are killing Russians and destroying equipment. Intelligence is a weapon as well.